welcome back to Studio 44 and our show Underdogz. Super excited for today. We have the soon-to-be the new mayor of Ocala, Ben Marciano, in the house. Ben, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Man, it's been a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been a long time. It's probably felt like forever. But we're so glad to have you here. We are excited for the future. You know, we're going to cover a few things today, but most of all, I know you've shared your story, but there's so many people that haven't heard about you.
Sure.
The real you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go all the way back. Let's talk about, where were you born?
Yeah. So I was born in Queens, New York. My parents they divorced at the age of 3. And we actually moved to Denellen, Florida when I was 3 years old. My grandfather was a retired New York City police officer, and he moved to Denellen, so my mother essentially followed him. Yeah, so I was born in New York and then grew up essentially in Denellen, Citrus Springs area.
So Queens, New York, Denellen, Florida.
Yeah.
Now that's a stark difference right there.
Absolutely.
What did you love most about the Denellen area?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of nature. I think that I was always, growing up, I was always in the woods. You know, people would never think that when you look at me, but I really was. I used to love being in the woods, riding dirt bikes, just being out in nature. I think that's the thing that I enjoyed most about it.
Now, see, and there's, out in Denellen, especially, you know, just a matter of years ago, there was so many places you could just go ride.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember I grew up about a mile north of WEC, off of 173rd, and right where they built Home Away from Home.
Okay.
So that Lime Rock, that dirt road,
Yep.
that's my road. And we used to play and ride dirt bikes through the fields and just have some fun.
Absolutely.
So, what was your favorite part of childhood?
You know, my grandfather was a big part of my childhood, and he essentially assumed the father role for me, which is unbelievable. But a lot of the memories that were really good were with him. He would take me fishing a lot out in Yankeetown in the middle of nowhere. But just spending that time with him, and I still love fishing today. But those are some of my fondest memories, is going out on the boat with him and fishing growing up.
It's funny how fishing can kind of really tie some things together. Like there's some good stories that happen while you're out fishing.
Oh yeah.
Especially with a grandfather. I mean, I can only imagine the history and the stories of when he was a kid or when he used to go fishing. So I love hearing stories just like that. So let's talk about the move from Denellen to Ocala. When did that happen?
Yeah, so my mother, I lived with my mother until about the age of 12, and we moved around a lot. In fact, I think it was probably when I was about 5 or 6, we moved to the shores of Ocala, and that time when I lived in the shores, I actually went to Bellevue Elementary. It was that was a school for that area, you know. So it was a lot of moving, but eventually I did wind up back in Citrus Springs, which is where my grandfather lived, and I moved in with my grandparents. I think it was like around the age of 12 years old.
Would you say that time of your life, how did that feel? That move back, like, was it a super positive to get back with your grandfather and back around him?
Yeah, I think there was some positive and there were some negative emotions. You know, not being with your mother was definitely a hard transition, but also being with my grandfather, who was like a father figure to me, definitely was positive. Now, the thing about my grandfather, I will tell you, he was not necessarily, he was hardcore. He taught me a lot of who I am today. His work ethic. I had to wake up before school and mow the lawn. I had to do chores, and he held me to that. There was no, you're not doing it. You're going to do it. He taught me about being on time and being 15 minutes early to something. If you're not on time. Being a man of your word and following through on things. But so it wasn't. I will be honest. It was almost a little bit like military school, I would imagine. But it brought me some stability and security that I didn't have, and that's what I think I enjoyed most about that, being there with him.
See that whole to be early is to be on time, and to be on time is to be late.
Yes.
Ironically enough, my grandfather's favorite saying also. And just for the record, Ben was 15 minutes early today. So he is a man of his word. So moving into to Granddad's house,
Yes.
right? What happens after high school in your life? Where'd you go then?
During high school, I played basketball. That was really my focus in high school. It was something that I practiced hard and I was really good at. One of the stories I like to share with people, especially when I talk to youth, when I went into my 9th grade year, I tried out for the basketball team and I was cut. I was the last guy to get cut. The basketball coach looked at me and said, Ben, you can do one of two things. Go home, do like every other kid, play video games, come back next year and not make the team, or go home and practice and come back next year and make the team. I chose the latter of the two, and I stayed at the basketball courts 4 or 5 hours a day, practiced, and the next year I went back and made the team. And what that taught me was that if you want something bad enough, go out and make it happen. And that was a really valuable lesson in my life. So I played basketball all the way through high school, and really, didn't really ever party until my senior year in high school is when I had my first drink. And I remember that when I drank that first drink, it did something to me. It almost filled me inside and made me feel complete. And then from there, I went to CF. I actually went to school for criminal justice. I wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps so bad. Growing up, I said, I just want to be like my grandfather. And he was a retired cop. So I went to school at CF and graduated with a degree in criminal justice. And during that time, the drinking and the partying kind of progressed for me. It was something that was not a good thing for me as I was going through school. After CF, I wound up going to FSU, and that's kind of where I got involved more in the health club industry.
So it's interesting with, like, if you think about addictive personalities and things that people struggle with, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
We all deal with something.
Oh, all of us.
The only people that get away with it are the ones that didn't get caught. So I remember those days, those things that we weren't supposed to be doing, whether it's drinking too young or just partaking in stuff that would lead us down a wrong path. I love underdog stories.
Yeah.
And I know that you have fought and clawed back, and you're very proud of your journey. And there's nothing to be ashamed of any piece of our journey. It has made us who we are today, no matter what.
Right.
Now, let's talk about the first time that you got into health and fitness. What really excited you about that industry?
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I was 115 pounds. If I were to show you a picture, you'd laugh. It's unbelievable. So I was really insecure about my size. And when I started working out, when I got out of high school, what it did for me is it built my confidence. And I really loved that. And then when I was in college and I started working in the industry, I loved watching people change and what it did for them. So that's what really spurred it on for me. When I was in Tallahassee, there was a gym there called Gold's Gym, and they were struggling. They were getting ready to shut down, and they brought in a consulting company to fix the gym. And I was part of that process to watch them take this failing gym to a successful gym. And I loved watching taking a business that was not doing well to a successful standpoint. And so I really enjoyed that part of it also. But helping people, being part of a successful team, it was all great. And I got fired up about it. And I actually traveled running gyms for a while. I was in New York. I was in Miami. Kind of was all over and worked in a lot of different gyms. And that's where I got a lot of my experience to do what we do today at Zone.
That's exciting. And where does your wife come into this story?
Yeah.
Because to be able to go so hard and to be able to reach this level of success, no one man does that alone.
No. Yeah, and I think it's important that I share with you. So in 2005, I had moved to Miami. I was running a health club there. I was not doing good. I was partying a lot. My addiction had gotten the best of me. I was really at a point where I really wasn't employable anymore. So I lost my job, and I lived in a high-rise apartment, and it was the 15 floors up. And really, I'd burnt every bridge at that point in my life. I had no one left. The alcoholism had gotten to a point where I really had to drink every day just to not almost go into a seizure. Like the physical addiction was that bad for me. And I remember one day feeling so low, not even knowing if I wanted to be around anymore. And I took a bottle of vodka and I swigged it. And I said, if there's a God, you'll do something. And I really didn't know that. I thought that would be the day that I would take my life. And essentially my phone rang, and it was my mother. And she said, something told me to call you. And I couldn't believe that. And that was the day that she had called the centers on Airport Road, and they had a bed. And I drove back and I checked into the centers, and I stayed there for 6 months, and it changed my life. It really taught me about addiction and some of the things that I'd struggled with. And I checked out of the centers in 2005 with hardly anything. I was really at a low point, and my sponsor at the time said, listen, you need to start really low, stay humble. I want you to keep God first. I want you to keep your program of recovery first. So there was a gym called Lord's Gym on 200. If you're from Ocala, you probably remember. Yeah. But it turned into a gym called Mighty Works Fitness, and I knew the guy who owned it. And essentially, I worked there. I was doing some training if he needed some cleaning done, whatever it was. But I really made sure that I kept my foundation of who I was trying to be, who I wanted to become first. Well, while I was there and I was doing really well, one day this beautiful woman walked in, and part of my job was to sell membership. So I ran to the front, sold her a membership. And I said, part of your membership plan, you get a free personal training session with me. And so she bid on it. And I remember the first time I saw her, I knew she was my wife. Never had those feelings before. But I always, man, this woman's way too good for someone like me. And long story short, we go on a date. We go on a date for a couple weeks, and I just couldn't share with her about my past. I was too ashamed. And I knew that she wouldn't want to be with someone like me. But we were driving back from St. Augustine one day, and I felt the guilt of not being honest with her. So we pulled over, and I said, Danielle, I got to be honest with you. I said, you're just way too good for someone like me. I'm in recovery. In fact, I just checked out of a treatment center, and I wish you the best. And she looked back at me with tears in her eyes, and she said, that's not who you are today. And she said, I love the man that you are and who you're going to be, and I'm behind you. And I'd never felt that unconditional love before. I think that was part of my turning point of really becoming who I am. And Danielle has been the main reason of who I am today. It just pushed me. I believe God brought her to me because he knew I needed a good woman in my life, and she's been that.
That's right. What I love is the fact that sometimes when you tempt God, and sometimes when you tell God what he's going to do, it's silent.
Yep.
And you have to sit there in your silence and realize that you're the one trying to tell your God what he's going to do in your life.
Yep.
And the moment that you surrender and realize that God's got a bigger plan for your life, in comes the woman of your dreams.
Absolutely.
Realizing the entire time that if you're going to climb the rungs and go to the levels of success that you're trying to go to, that backbone, that rib of a woman is right there every step of the way. I love hearing that even in the moment of you, the surrender came when you finally told her.
Yes.
When you just said, look, this is who I am, and you not even having the confidence in yourself, it's like just wanting to keep that little secret.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep it to myself. It'll go away one day.
Yep.
But it wouldn't.
Yep.
It wouldn't. God needed that out.
Yep.
And you were man enough at the moment to say, you know what, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And she stepped up.
She did.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's really big.
I tell people I married Mother Teresa. That's the best way to describe Danielle.
Yes.
There's a lot of hard with that. You got to be really good. I mean, she expects a lot, but it's been great.
So any time that I have seen her, whether it's at a networking event, it could be a gala, or it could be at the downtown market, it could be wherever, it's always the same smile.
Always.
Like
Yeah.
she seems like one of the most genuine people that someone could come across.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, is that real? I would tell you what you see from Danielle is who she is times 10. I mean, even behind, she's just always doing the right thing. She's an amazing mother, just an amazing person, always giving of herself. She is always last in every decision, and just an amazing person. I'm unbelievably blessed to have her as my wife.
Yeah. I love hearing those type of stories. It gives me it gets me excited. It gives me hope.
Yes.
For many people searching for the same thing, that it is out there.
Yeah.
And I love that God revealed her to you the way he did. Because at first it was like, oh my gosh, like I need to go sell this lady a Zone membership.
Right.
Sorry, not at that time.
Right. Mighty Works Fitness.
The Mighty Works, yeah. No, she's getting the gold package.
Yes.
With the free training.
You got it.
That would have been continued free training. You would have just had to keep it free.
Anytime she wants free training, she gets it.
No matter what.
Yeah.
when you decide to go your own route, what was the pivotal thing that changed your mind from I'm working for someone else? I got to do this for myself.
Yeah. So it's important that I talk about, I worked for the YMCA for 10 years. I started there as a front desk person and worked my way up to vice president. And there were so many things along the way. One that I want to share with you, I think is important because I see a lot of people leave things too early and they don't see the benefit of sticking out and the reward. So early in my career at the Y, I was told if you produce, do well, you'll move up. And in fact, it brought a lot of the systems that I learned over the years, and the Y did very well. At the point when I got there, it was losing $500,000 a year. So we implement the systems, things are going great, and the lady above me gets promoted. And so I'm figuring I'm next in line to get her position, essentially what I thought I had earned at the time. And the vice president came down and met with me. I was young. I was 25. And he looked at me and he said, Ben, we like you, but you're not qualified for the next position up. You don't have the right degree. You've never worked with raising money. And we appreciate you, but essentially we're going to look for another person. Well, the way that I always did things up until that point was if things didn't go my way, I was out, right? And I remember going home that night and sharing with my wife my disappointment. In fact, I had just been that day, I was offered a job by an insurance guy who offered me a job to sell insurance, making a lot more than what I was making at the Y. And I told him, you know what, I'm probably going to take you up on that, but I do need to talk to my wife. So when I talked to Danielle about it, she said, Ben, why don't you try something different in your life? Why don't you stay, show them that you are the man for the job, and stick your nose to the grindstone. You're not made to sell insurance. He goes, you're made to make a difference in health and fitness. That's who you are. And she said, believe that you're going to get that position. And I did not want to do that. Every day I would go in to the Y and I'd start to visualize my name on the executive director nameplate. And I just acted out the job. And I worked, and they would bring people in front of me, interviewing them. Long story short, the Y continued to do well, and I became the executive director. And that's what I realized is that sometimes we just jump ship way too early. And imagine if I would have done that, if I would have gone and sold insurance. And eventually I became the vice president of the YMCA. I had a couple locations, and we did very well there. But one day I was driving to Orlando. I had locations in Orlando, and I believe that God moves you, and there will be peace in the direction that I'm supposed to go, and sometimes there'll be anxiety in the direction that I shouldn't go. And I felt that, and I felt, okay, God, what's your plan for me? And we went out to Eaton's Beach on our boat one day, and we ran into a businessman out there named Tom Ingram. Mm-hmm. And Tom walked up to me and he goes, man, you've done an amazing job at the YMCA. Would you ever want to open your own gym? And I said, Tom, I would love to, but I don't think it would be a good idea. I just raised all this money to expand the local Y. I don't think I could do that. And he goes, well, if anything ever changes, you let me know. Well, that night I went home, and in my dream, I had a dream that I was going to open my own health club. And I woke up the next day and I shared it with Danielle, and we prayed on it, and we said, yeah, this is where God's leading us. And that's what kind of spurred it for me. And I called the guy who owned Brick City. It was previously Compass Health and Fitness. Mm-hmm. I knew the guy, and I went and met with him, and his name was Bill Reed, a good friend of mine. I said, Bill, would you ever want to sell this gym? And he just looked at me in total shock. He said, Ben, we were on our knees last night praying to an answer to God because we were going to shut the gym down in 2 days.
Oh my
He
goodness.
goes, whatever you need, we'll make it happen. And I will tell you, the road to open that business was unbelievably hard. You know, unless you own a business, you just don't know. Everybody thinks they do. In fact, when I was a vice president for the Y, people would come to me and go, you know what? You think this job's hard? Wait till you own your own business. I said, it's going to be so much easier. I don't have to raise money. You know, I don't have to do youth programming. I don't have to work with a board. They said, just wait. And they were right. It's been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Take over a failing business and turn that business around. And you get it. You know how hard that is. It was definitely a struggle.
See, that's the part of the journey that most people will never understand.
Yep.
And that's totally fine because for the last probably 5 years, all you've heard on the internet is be an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Yep. Well, I'm telling you right now, everybody is not an entrepreneur.
Right. You got it.
As much as you knew that you weren't like cut out for the insurance industry, there are some people that do amazing in the insurance. But when you know where your gift is, like you're almost denying yourself the chance of success. So going into opening the gym, I think it's very, very interesting to see how everything has to line up a certain way. And when you pray to God and you get that answer, and then you find out that they were praying too. Like, come on.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Like, go ahead and not listen to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
these type of opportunities don't always just present themselves. So for Tom to approach you the way he did,
Oh, yeah.
like, you can't tell me that God didn't put him in your path and say these words.
Yep.
Say this, act on this. And for you to be humble enough to say, you know what? Let me pray on it.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see that part of your journey.
Oh, yeah.
Because we see Zone, okay, and a lot of people. We have tons of people moving to Ocala and Marion County, and they just see Zone. They see success. They see cleanliness. They see amenities that a lot of places don't have. They see a future there. They see a ton of other people getting healthy and getting fit, but they just see the final product. They don't see the grind and the hours and the decisions that have to get made on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah. So the business was losing about $40,000 a month. And so Danielle and I had saved up enough money to live off of for 18 months. But we had to use the capital that we secured to cover the losses initially and then also to do the renovations of the club. Well, 9 months in, $10,000 in bills on the counter, and we have no money left. And I remember being in my back office, and I get a sharp pain in my chest, and I think I'm having a heart attack. I start screaming for help, and I hit my knees. They rushed me to the hospital, and while I'm there, they're doing all kinds of tests, and the doctor looks at me and goes, "Son, I don't know what's going on with you." He goes, "You're a young man." He goes, "You didn't have a heart attack today. You had essentially had a panic attack, but if you don't make a change, I would imagine you will have a heart attack before it ends." So I remember going home that night and going to my room, and I hit my knees and I started crying. And I said, "God, why would you let me do this?" And that month, Zone made money. And I look at those struggles and everything we've been through. I don't regret it. It was definitely one of the hardest seasons of our life, but it's what made us who we are, going through COVID and these other things, how we were able to handle them. It made me better. It made me a better business person. But it was difficult. And the story of all, we were talking about this earlier, is I worried the whole time. I was trying to create the outcomes. I was worrying about all the different outcomes, but God had me all along. And that was the message that resonated with me as we made it through.
That's awesome. Successful business, grind, hustle, love. We've tapped on almost everything that a man can go through in a shorter period of time. And now mayor. Mm-hmm. Why mayor?
Yeah, and I'm glad you're asking that. So coming out of COVID, the gym was struggling. We lost 35% of our revenue because of COVID. Most gyms, I will tell you, especially if they were on the West Coast or Northeast Coast, they shut down permanently. So we had to really drive to get our business back to where it was. And I would go to work every day trying to drive results. And I was feeling very unfulfilled. And I remember one day I called my sponsor and I said, "Mike," I said, "I'm just not happy with the gym anymore." He said, "Well, tell me about your day." I said, "I go in, I'm trying to push the employees, drive the numbers." He said, "Your motives are very selfish. They're about fulfilling your desires." He said, "Well, how about you change your focus today? 2 things. I'm going to keep it simple for you because you need to keep things simple for you." He always likes to razz on me. He said, "Why don't you focus on just serving God and serving others today? And then call me at the end of the day and let me know how your day goes." So reluctantly, I'm like, all right. So I go in, instead of asking or telling my employees what they need to do for the day, I just changed my focus and saying, how can I serve you? Where are you at? How can I make your day better? And one by one, I had the opportunity to serve people, members, employees. And I remember walking in my house that night. My wife sees me and I'm kind of glowing. And she goes, "Man, you must have had a great day with the numbers today." I said, "I don't even know what the numbers were." I said, "I just serve people all day." And that's when I realized my purpose is to serve people. And the way I look at the mayor's job is a platform to serve people and serve the community. And, I definitely have had through prayer and having really good people around me, my wife, it really feels like a calling, to be able to do it.
And when it comes to the position of mayor, what is your idea for the future of Ocala?
Yeah. First of all, I love Ocala. When I drive down the road, I'm so proud. I'll walk down the roads and our mayor has done a great job, and we've had some great leaders in our community to make it what it is today. And I want to continue to build on that. What's really important is your number one responsibility as the mayor is to oversee the police department. I'm sure you know Chief Balkin. Unbelievable.
Yes.
We have the best police chief in the country. I believe that. He has a heart to serve, but he's also going to make sure that he enforces the law. But I want to continue to build on that. I want to work with him and make sure he has the resources to be successful. So that's number one. Number two, I'm really passionate about physical and mental health. I think if you're not physically healthy, you can't do a lot. If you've never struggled with chronic illness, that becomes your priority when you're really sick, right? Well, we can prevent a lot of that through physical activity and teaching people about the importance of physical health. Also, mental health. 1 out of 4 of our residents right now are struggling with mental illness, and that's what we know of. When I went on a ride-along with the police department, I will tell you most of the calls were around addiction and mental illness. So I really want to be a voice for that, especially with my past, educate people on how they can get help. We have programs in our community that people just aren't aware of. And I want to be a voice and really get people involved in that. I want to address the homeless issue in our community. I do have some creative ways of how we can do that. I think we need to take away safety net, not enable, but there are programs that we can put in place to really help. And then lastly is that you've seen the growth we've talked about downtown. There's been some really good things happening, and I want to continue to build on that. I want to continue to add businesses to downtown that make sense for who we are, working with the CEP, who's done a great job. But we got to get in front of the growth also with some infrastructure. So getting city, county, fire, everybody in the room and really coming up with a solid plan. And I've seen them do that. They're working on that. I've sat in some of the meetings of how they're doing that. So just staying in front of it. But I tell people when they ask about Ocala, first of all, my dad visits from New York. He goes, this place is special. I believe that. There's something special about the people here. I want to build on that. I want to believe that we can be an example for the country of how we bring people together for the common good of the community, get things done. And that's my ultimate goal.
How do we unify Ocala?
I think people listen when they know you care, right? So I think it starts with love and compassion and trying to understand. I've never changed anybody's thought process by forcing my will on them, but when I do show them that I'm willing to listen and, start discussions that we can hear each other. So I think it all starts with that. But again, I think our community is special. People have the heart in this community to do good things. And I think we just build on that.
And as the city of Ocala, what do you feel that we need the most, like as a community?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that resonates the most with me is really addressing mental illness. When I was at an FCA breakfast, it was shocking to me to hear from kids say that the number one thing that they deal with is mental illness in the schools. And I think coming out of COVID, that has a lot to do with it. But I think just being able to get people to start opening up, having the courage to admit when, hey, I need to talk to somebody, right? So I think educating the community on that and really addressing the mental illness issue and the homeless issue and the community addiction issue, I think that's one of the biggest concerns that I see right now.
And I love the fact that as a business owner, and then now moving into the position of mayor, you're still a business owner.
Yes.
So having a solid team, how much does that mean to you to have that confidence in your team moving forward into this position?
Yeah, people ask me, how are you going to do the mayor, especially following someone like Kent, who really does devote a lot of time to the job. I wouldn't be able to do it without the team. I have Tracy Bracey, who is currently an owner-operator of his own. She followed me from the Y and has taken over the business, and she's doing a much better job than when I ran the business. She actually said, the only thing I ask is that you stay out of my way. So I'm blessed, and I told my employees yesterday, I was in a leadership meeting. I said, the reason why I'm able to do this is because of you. You guys treat the business as if you own it. You work hard every day, and I'm blessed. I have the best employees around. So I feel very confident that I have a great team that's going to run the business so that I can focus on helping to be part of running the city.
A lot of us live by inspiration and motivation. Mm-hmm. What is something that inspires you, and what is something that motivates you?
Yeah. Well, I would say that I'm inspired when I see people make changes in their life for the better. That's one of the things that when I'm at work, people ask me all the time, what is it that you enjoy most about Zone? I love watching members change their life, but the biggest thing is I love is watching an employee grow into a leader and really change. A lot of the people that work for me, it might be a second chance or something that they've struggled with in their life, and they come to Zone. So they inspire me every day to want to be better because I watch them grow. And then I'm also, I have some really good guys in my life that I look up to that are mentors. And they also hold me accountable to who I want to be and who they know if I get off on track. So they motivate me to want to be better. So they're big motivators for me.
That's awesome. Now, I talk a lot about circle of influence. And right now, I'm in a closed circle mode. Okay. For the first time in a long time, I've said, you know what? Right now, I just need to pause that circle. And I need to continue to focus and continue to build myself up, build my brands up, and make sure that we're all on the same page before we open that again. How much or how important is circle of influence to you?
Yeah, I tell people that, be around people that you want to be like. I've not seen it work in the other direction where if you're around a lot of people that are not doing good, that you bring them up, most of the time they'll bring you down. So I hang out with people that I want to be like. A lot of my success in life, because I've struggled with everything. We didn't go into the details, but we've had our struggles with our marriage, Danielle and I. That's the honest to God truth. I've struggled with being a dad. I've struggled with being a business owner. So you name it. So what I do is I try to find guys that are great husbands, great fathers, great business owners, and I learn from them. And I tell them, call me on it when you see me off track, and those guys do. They don't tell me what I want to hear. They tell me what I need to hear. And I have a lot of those guys in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. I tell you, that's one of the most impactful things in my life is having really good men around me that know me, know who I want to be, and hold me accountable to that.
That's so good. 100% on that same page. I'm never afraid. The friends that I have that are closest to me, they can tell me whatever they need to tell me and not be afraid to say it.
Yes.
Just say it.
Yeah.
So I want to get into one final part before we cut this off. What would you say to the people that are moving into Ocala? Because we're growing.
Oh, yeah.
We're growing. And I feel like it's growth by design. I think there's a lot of good things coming in the future for people moving here. But what is your message as the future mayor to those people? Yeah,
well, first of all, welcome to the best city in the country. I call Ocala the great American city. And I tell people that what this community is always, what I feel is about being a servant and just being part of the team to serve each other. And so you're coming to a great community that people really care about serving and helping each other. And let's build on that. And let's be something special for that we can demonstrate to the country. Like I said, that where we can bring people together for the good of the community to accomplish something great.
Absolutely. Absolutely love everything that you just said. I'm excited. I'm born and raised in Ocala. And when people ask me where I'm from, I say 3rd floor Monroe. I'm excited for our future. I'm proud to live here. I'm proud of you coming in as our mayor, and for the things that are going to happen, the things that are going to be built, the dreams that are going to happen here. So thank you so much for taking time, for coming on the show, to hear just a little piece of your underdog story. I like to go by the Ricky Bobby saying of if you're not first, you're last. So thank you so much for choosing us first. We are excited to have you on. And blessed to have you as our mayor.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate you guys. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. Now, the last thing we're going to end with, if you'll look in that camera, I would love for you to tell the citizens of Ocala just a message from your heart.
Yeah. I just want you guys to know that I am so grateful to be the next mayor-elect, and I am so excited to serve as your next mayor, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Love you guys. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us on Underdogz. Ben, thank you for coming on the show. And remember that love wins.
Absolutely. Period. I love it.